Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Games from Almost in Full Color. Today's video, we're going to be talking about gaming on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 using the 3080 tier for GeForce Now. Now, for anyone out there wondering, I've had this phone for quite a little while now, and I've been wanting to get this video out, but things have kept popping up. So finally, this video is out. But I've picked a few games from different genres just to kind of show off different things about using the service, whether it's visual quality, and also some games that just are more demanding gameplay wise when it comes to input latency and things like that, just to show off just how well this service actually works when you're playing on a mobile device. Also, just to clear up one thing, I know I've been saying that it's 1440p 120 fps, but it turns out that's only on PC and browser. So if you're playing on mobile like we're playing on here, you're actually going to be 1080p 120 fps. Now, granted, that's still better than any handheld gaming device out there that I'm aware of, whether it's the Switch, whether it's the Steam Deck, whatever. Like, if this is still way better than them performance wise and also graphically. So not going to hold you too long, but just wanted to give you a little brief intro. But let's get into the gameplay. Now, the first game I decided to use was Destiny 2. I feel like this was a good game to kind of show both graphics and gameplay quality, since this one is pretty demanding when it comes to input latency, but it's also a game, it's a AAA title game that looks really good. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds to start out. Now, I will say that if any of you look at it and you see that I'm limiting something to 120 FPS in game, it's because that's as high as the stream will come to you. So no matter how much faster the game is actually running, you're only going to get the 120 FPS because that's the limit of the stream itself. So if you ever see that and wonder why I'm doing it, it's not because the game can't run any higher. It's just pointless after that point. So sometimes I do limit it to 120 FPS. Also, another quick note is all of this was recorded via the screen recorder built into the Z Fold 3. It was recorded at 60 FPS because YouTube only allows me to upload at 60 FPS. So it's really no point of recording any higher, even though I wasn't able to anyway. Now back to the game. Destiny 2 was the perfect both worlds comparison to where, like I said, you get to see graphics, but you also get to see gameplay. I just ran a quick strike here, kind of show off a little bit of what the game's running at. As always, we always max out all the settings when playing at 1080p 120 fps. You can do the same on PC and browser at higher resolutions as well, but for mobile, you're definitely going to be able to max out everything super easy because you're only running at 1080p. Everything looks really good. For anyone wondering how I'm playing the game controller wise, I'm using the PowerA Moga handheld that I did a video on here. It's a Bluetooth connected device, so if you're wondering about input latency using Bluetooth controllers, this one actually worked great. I didn't feel any different than if I was playing on my PS5 or my Xbox Series X. I'm not a PC gamer outside of using Steam with GeForce Now, so I don't have a huge Steam catalog, but this is one of the games that I do play religiously, and I love playing it on the GeForce Now servers. So, like I said, this game looks really good. Everything played perfectly fine. No difference from playing on a next-gen console other than we're getting double the FPS, and the game just looks even better because you get to turn up all the settings. That gets dumbed down a little bit on the PS5 and Xbox Series X when they want to hit that 60 FPS limit. You do get 120 FPS on consoles if you're playing PvP, but for GeForce Now, you get 120 FPS all the time. It's not just in PvP, it's in the entire game, which just makes it the perfect place to play this game. Now, one thing I do want to point out is you can see what the game is currently running at FPS wise up here in the top right hand corner. One thing to note is if you're playing GeForce Now on mobile, there's no way really to see what the game itself is running at. You can see what the stream is being sent to you at, and if you're dropping any packets and how much percentage of bandwidth you're using of your internet connection, but you can't see what the game is running at. So the only way we're able to do this for Destiny 2 is because Destiny 2 actually has the FPS display built into the game itself, so you can turn it on in game and actually see what you're running at. So this is one of the few games that actually has that I'm playing, but that's why we're able to see it for Destiny. And other games coming up, you probably won't get to see exactly what the game's running at, but I can tell you just from playing other games that it's definitely 120 or better. Alright, so our next game is Blind Fate Ito no Yami Dojo. This is actually just a demo I played on GeForce Now. They have some demos that you can play for certain games because I'm not a PC gamer, so my Steam library isn't really big, and I did want to pick different games to show you guys exactly, what you would be looking at if you did different genres of game. Now this one really isn't like crazy graphics. It has like its own unique art style, even though the game does look pretty. This one is one of those games that kind of leans more towards gameplay because it's, more fast paced. It's more of a parry style fighter, side scrolling fighter. So you want those button inputs to come when you push them because, this game relies heavily on that type of stuff. So it kind of really just shows you that input latency is not an issue on GeForce Now. Now, if you're someone who's a mouse and keyboard guy, I'm not one particularly, so maybe you might be able to tell a difference, but from console players like myself, who I used to be a strictly console player, if you were playing on the PS5 or Xbox Series X, you're not going to tell any difference in input latency or any input delay at all if you're playing GeForce Now. So that's one of the great parts of this. Like, this game you can play perfectly fine, whether it's on mobile, whether it's on your PC, or wherever you decide to play GeForce Now. This game is going to run smooth. Like I said, it's not a huge graphical game, but it does look really good, and as always, we're able to run everything maxed out once again. But it was a pretty fun game. If you guys want to check it out, if this is your style of game, I had fun playing it. Really didn't want to buy it just because I don't know, it's really not what I want to spend my money on, even though I did enjoy playing it a little bit. Not enough to spend the money. But it did run good, and I did enjoy myself playing it on GeForce Now. Okay, so our next game is a game called Chorus. I believe this one was a demo as well because I don't remember paying for it. But like Destiny 2, it's one of those games that gives you both graphics and gameplay. So this one, there's a lot going on. It's a space fighter, like a spaceship fighter game, kind of like a Star Fox 64 style game, to where you're fighting a lot of ships out in space. You're doing a lot of dog fighting, so obviously, those the input latency can't be there. Like, you have to feel like when I hit a button, it happens. It's not a wait, it's not a delay. So, and it played perfect. Like, I didn't notice any delay playing this game, but it's also a game where the graphics are popping. Like, you can see that they really leaned into graphics for this, and GeForce Now does an amazing job of displaying those to you to where you really feel like you're playing on a high-end PC. Granted, we are playing at 1080p, but if you were playing this at 4K or 1440p on your browser, this game is going to really pop even more than what it is on mobile, even though it looks beautiful here as well. And really enjoyed my time playing this game. Once again, it was one of those ones that hopefully I didn't buy it in the past because I probably won't play it much more just because I'm not a huge like space fighter guy. That's just not my thing. But I did like playing the game for what it was. Like I said, really beautiful, and just like, if this is your style of game and you have GeForce Now, or maybe you're thinking about getting it, this one, I mean, you definitely would have a good time with. So our last game is going to be Soda Crisis. And this game is actually one I played the demo and I actually enjoyed it so much that I went and bought the game. For anyone wondering, the game is about 11 bucks on Steam, and it's just super fun. Now, this game looks good, but it's not overly heavy on graphics. It's very, very dedicated to fast-paced, gun-blazing gameplay. It's like Contra, but mixed with a platformer. I guess Contra was a platformer as well, but this one's just a lot more fast-paced platforming. It's just a super fun game. Anyone out there who likes these style of games, you're gonna be right at home here. And as I said, everything was maxed out. We got a smooth 120 FPS, and the game just felt great to play. Like, everything I did, and like I said, this game really leans heavily on you pushing a button and it happens right away because it's very demanding on you platform wise. Everything happened smooth, everything happened quick, just like I would expect it to on PC or on console. If you didn't know you were playing over the internet through some cloud gaming platform, you would never know it. So that's how great GeForce Now runs, and this game is just kind of one of the ones that really shows off like how far they've brought this service. Again, I am playing on the 3080 tier. I can't speak to any lesser tiers of how those ones play or how those ones handle these games. But on the 3080 tier, I've never had a complaint. everything runs amazing, and this one is just another notch in the belt, to be honest. Alright, so I don't want this video to be too long, so these are the only games we're going to show off this time. I'm actually going to keep going with this little series. We'll show off some other things. Maybe we'll show off using GeForce Now on iPhones as well, because it's not as good as if you had an Android, just because the GeForce Now app is not on the Apple Store, so you're forced to play through the Safari browser, which does limit you to 1080p 60 FPS. Now granted, I mean, that's not like it's super crippling or anything like that, but you don't get the 120 FPS that you would on Android devices that support it. But we are going to show off some iPhone gaming. If that's what you guys want to see, just leave it down in the comments. I'll be sure to pop that video up soon as it gets made. But as always, thanks you for all the support you bring to the channel. I hope this video, gave you some information when it comes to GeForce Now. Hopefully it answers some questions you might have had of how games do run on the service if you're playing via a mobile device, a mobile Android device in this situation. But yep, so that's gonna pretty much wrap it up. I don't have anything else to say. But as always, be easy, be blessed, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.